How do you think about independent media and how it's playing online media as well? The Midas Touch, Brian Tyler Cohen. It seems to me, at least leading up to this election in 2024, there was a little bit of a blind spot for Democrats. Some, as you said, some were doing podcasts, some were doing some of that. But if you just look at the pure data, the right has been way ahead of the left on this communication. Even now, when you see the White House, they are using new channels, rapid response channels, to push out their agenda, and it seems to get far more pickup than Democrats, even when they're trying to do, their typical X videos and things like that.
Honestly, I hear you. Well, I would say two things. When people are aghast that the White House only now, is now flooding in these influencers that aren't journalists and they're angry about it, I hear that. But if you remember the DNC last year, you were there. The DNC was flooded with influencers, right? Right. If you went to Chicago, they had all sorts of parties and events, and they were doing all those things. But what I do think that Democrats need to do a better job of is stop being so precious, right? Stop being so precious and holding yourself back from speaking ugly or uncomfortable truths. It's sort of like that Real World MTV line where people stop being polite and start getting real. It's incredible to me that you are seeing, right? Donald Trump was successful in winning over a lot of young male voters, which in 2016, I definitely never saw coming. In 2016, I'm like, how are Republicans going to win over young voters with what they're offering? And Donald Trump did it. What's amazing to me now, Turning Point USA, New York Times just did a big profile on it, just had their biggest conference for young females just a couple of months ago. And they're doing it through MAHA. They're doing it through, the Make America Healthy Again, organic eating, not having dyes in your food. And they're doing it through this movement of, it's a big positive to be trad wives. I think that there is some middle ground. If you're seeing a universe of voters that you would never in a million years would align themselves with conservative values, you have to find the places where there are, right? If suddenly people are saying, you know what, I don't necessarily feel great about processed foods, or I don't feel great about big pharma, right? There's a zillion things that are wrong with RFK Jr. But if he's pulling on a thread that is now connecting with voters that have traditionally voted Democrat, don't just assume that those voters are terrible. Figure out what is it that's connecting him to those voters, and how do you get there? Think about all of these women who are now aligning themselves with this trad wife idea. Maybe where the space is that in women, with all of our progress and all of the fantasticness of feminism, maybe we have forgotten to honor women who choose to stay at home. Maybe we have forgotten to see that voter and honor who they are and what they are. And so I just think, like, sometimes Democrats are so consumed and concerned with including everyone and being conscious of everyone, they're sort of missing the plot. But look at how Republicans have run the table on trans youth sports, which should not be a hot topic. It's something that impacts such a small amount of people, but they've allowed Republicans to run the table. I have 3 children that go to single-sex schools. So never in a million years should this topic be a hot topic. Yet when I go to sporting events, it's what I hear constantly. And so I just think Democrats need to figure out a way. How do you speak plainly? How do you say things sometimes that could be offensive to some and connect with people?
We hope you enjoyed this episode of The People's Cabinet. If you did, please like, subscribe, ring that bell, and put in the comments below who else you'd like to see sworn in. And stay tuned for new episodes every Tuesday. Let's go.